الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على نبيه ومصطفى سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه ثم أما بعد. Inshallah, we'll resume with the next session and we'll begin with answering a few questions, inshallah. Brother Yasser is going to read the first question.
Assalamu alaikum. Just before we start, I just want to remind the brothers and sisters of the rules that we mentioned at the beginning of this day, in that there's no eating to be done in the lecture theatre. This for various reasons, primarily because of cleaning and secondly because there's a lot of expensive equipment. So for those reasons, we have a general rule of no eating in the lecture theatre. Drinks are permitted to some extent, non-alcoholic obviously. So we'll start with the first question, inshallah ta'ala. It reads, if the sister is a revert, her wakil will be an imam or something, not a member of her family. He won't have that love and care for the sister as she's not his family. What advice would you give to the sisters as the imam? I'm assuming it says revert sisters, as the imam will probably say yes to anyone.
Jazakallah khairan. The guardianship in Islam is something very sacred, to the point that An-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that every guardian will be held accountable before Allah and will be questioned about those who were under his guardianship. So it's a big responsibility, and that's why if you're not up to the responsibility, just step down. And the imam is not a job, and whenever you are a revert, you are the responsibility of the whole Muslim community, and they should fear for you and care about you like they care about their own daughters exactly. So far, I haven't seen anyone who's careless after being appointed as a guardian, especially over a revert. If you happen to have a bad experience, mashallah, in a city like London, have many masajid and many imams, you don't have to feel stuck with one person if you're not 100% certain, yani. So I would advise you, if you don't feel confident dealing with him, to switch to another imam.
What advice would you give to a person who has prayed istikhara several times?
Okay, that is coming, inshallah. Okay. This question is right on the slide, inshallah. Yeah, you go ahead and ask, please.
Okay, the question reads, Assalamu alaikum ya Shaykh, may Allah bless you, Ameen, Ameen. My question is that in choosing a spouse, you really don't know anyone until you travel with them, live with them, do business with them, as per the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then what will be the deciding factor of she being the right person? Jazakallahu khair.
This is absolutely true. And that's why instead of doing like this American guy who already have 4 children and been together for 10 years to check out each other before they decided to get married, there comes the role of the wali, of the guardian. And in this slide we have the question, which is who's going to gather the information needed and do the required investigations, because it is not about the look. We have to agree that it is not about the look. I don't care how religious you look, because in this incident here, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu heard 2 people were talking, and one was recommending a third. He said, he's a righteous man, he's a good man. So Umar ibn al-Khattab intervened and he said, do you know him? He said, yes. He said, did you guys do business together? Have you been in business together in trade? He said, no. Are you his partner? He said, no. Is he your neighbor? No. Did you travel with him? Oh, not that either. He said, perhaps you've seen him يرفع رأسه ويخفضه في المسجد. You've seen him praying in the masjid, doing the down and the prostration. He said, yeah, I see him all the time in the masjid. He said, that's not sufficient. That is not sufficient. Not to blame the deen, not to blame the prayer, not to blame the practice. But there are people, every Muslim should pray. But is every Muslim a good Muslim? Is every Muslim a kind Muslim? SubhanAllah, we used to have a neighbor, when you see him in the masjid, when I was a kid, and he was growing his beard, but, because we were living across from each other, he was very cruel. He used to beat his wife badly. insult her with bad words. He was very abusive, verbally and physically. When you see him in the masjid, I was afraid even to say salam alaikum to him, even though outside he's like a very kind, gentle person. You know what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said? He said, خياركم خياركم لأهله وأنا خيركم لأهلي. He said, the best of you are those who are good to their family, to their spouses, to their wives, to their children. This is the best for people. This is how the Prophet ﷺ said, the best of you are those who are good to their families. And he said, look what I said, he said, and I'm the best to my family. I'm the best to my wife. Because sometimes when we quote the hadith, I say, okay, some people say, خيركم خيركم لأهله, and I'm the best to my family. So it sounds like I'm talking about the first person. No, I rather say, and he said, I'm the best to my family. As Aisha radiallahu anha was asked, how was the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam at home? She said, كان يكون في خدمة أهله. كان يكون في خدمة أهله. He was always serving his wives at home. He used to clean up, he used to patch his clothes, and he used to fix his shoes, and whenever it is a prayer time, he would just go out to the prayer. So at home, he was giving hand. He was assisting his wife. He was always helping. One day, I was on a dawah trip in the Gulf, and we had some of those, inshallah, big shots. Was walking me to the hotel, and my wife was with me. She was pregnant, so I was carrying her purse. She said, how could you carry her purse? I said, what is wrong with that? No, Sheikh, we don't do that. I said, I do that. And the Prophet ﷺ, who is better than all of us, did even more than that. كان يقصف نعله. I just quoted how the Prophet ﷺ used to sit down and put up his knee. So Safiya radiallahu anha would climb on his knee to get on back of the horse. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And we're talking about who? The dearest and the most beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when Allah says that كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the messenger of Allah, is the best example and the greatest role model to be followed. If you have a problem with his behavior, then you do have a problem. If you have a problem how he used to deal with his wives and you think that, it's a sign of weakness, then you have a problem. Yeah.
I have a question, if you don't mind. Because I'm sure there may be some people in this predicament. We say hypothetically, Sheikh, that there's a sister, a divorcee sister. She falls in love with a brother, and the love is so deep that many years later she's getting proposals, but she says she refuses all of them because she has this deep attachment to this other brother who, for reasons, for example, maybe he's from a different race, so the families decided that they're not going to allow them to marry because of race. So many years later, they decide, the sister is still saying no to proposals because she's still attached to this brother who she wasn't allowed to marry. So what advice would you give to the sister in terms with regards to her situation? She's in a position where she needs to get married, but she can't because she's attached to her brother.
It sounds like the question was asked before, and I answered the question as well. Do you guys remember? Huh? Well, I was the one who read the question. Now?
He's shaking his head.
Yeah, I did answer this question, and I asked the sister that, and I said, in the case of a man, he is not in need for anybody's permission. If the sister is good, and she's a good match, alhamdulillah, shukrullah, he's required to convince his family. But if he's weak enough and he's not capable to do that, then I said move on and overcome this love, because if you're going to stay for years and years and he's not willing to take any action, what are you going to do about it? Do not miss the following proposal, especially that I hear it's very hard to find a good match. So if you find a good person, move on with your life. If the person whom you assume that you love him so much, and he says I love you, love is about actions, not just mere words and exchanging roses. You have to do some sacrifices. You have to do something about it. And we all know that those who are truly in love are willing to go all the way to the end of the world to please the loved person and he's not capable to make the decision, I think you will have a lot of obstacles afterward, even if you marry this person. So move on, and if you have another proposal and the person is a good person with the criterion that we discussed and you approve him, just marry him. You're not going to wait forever. Barakallah. Any other questions?
The last question is, if the sister's father is deceased and she does not have anybody else that is a mahram, take his place as a wali, should her father's best friend be a wali, and if not, who can?
It is not her father's best friend or the father's best friend. If the father appointed any person, then this person is a wasi. He can be the guardian. But if he did not appoint, we look into, as the Prophet ﷺ said, فَالسُّلْطَانُ وَلِيُّ مَنْ لَا وَلِيَّ لَهُ. The authority will be given to the person who's in charge. We don't have a sultan, we don't have a Muslim governor who's in charge. Then who will fulfill this role? The imam or the leader of the Muslim community. It's a matter of being authoritative. In what sense? So that inshallah, when you guys get married, and God forbid, if there is a marital problem later on, he's a person who has an authority who can talk to this man and put a stop to his aggression for innocence. Or reconcile because he's authoritative. When you come back to the community, when you come back to the imam or the leader of the community, he can deal with it. Versus a person who does not have any capacity and is not even related to you. So the priority will be given to the sultan or those who fill in the position of the sultan, such as the president of the Muslim community or the emir of the Muslim community or even the imam of the local Muslim community. Barakallah fikum. Barazakum. So we learn what Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu said, that seeing the person going back and forth to the masjid does not give you enough evidence this person is a good person, especially with regards to giving him a girl in marriage. Rather, it requires further investigation. That can be achieved simply by acquiring about his friends. Who are his friends? You know that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, الْمَرْءُ عَلَى دِينِ خَلِيلِهِ فَلْيَنْظُرْ أَحَدُكُمْ مَنْ يُخَالِلُ. And the like birds fly together. So when somebody is surrounded with a bad peer and he hangs around with them, it's a very negative sign. You should exclude this person, at least it raises a red flag to investigate furthermore. But mashallah, what is his company? He's very active in the MSA. He is making programs and he's inviting speakers, and all his company are active youth. It's a very good sign, which encourages me to look furthermore towards more evidences, because I'm giving him my heart. I'm giving him my daughter, and I don't want to take a chance. So, how do they spend their free time? That's a very important question. You know, how do they spend their free time? Video games? Internet cafe? Or there is nothing called free time. Even free time, I make use of it. You know? How do you waste your time? This is a very important question, which can be simply asked to the person who's proposing, or can be further investigated. Ask about accomplishments. Inshallah, you graduated. What else do you do besides graduation? What are your hobbies? What are you good at? What kind of reading? What do you read normally? Which books? Which book did you get to read and finish? You know, not just read the introduction of a few books here and there. Having an awareness of what is going on in the entire Muslim world and the Muslim community. I remember when George Bush was nominated to be a president, and in a live interview, in the debate, they asked him, what do you know about the issue of Kashmir? He said it's a fabric. From the beginning, I mean, he introduced himself. He's not fit whatsoever. But they still chose him. You know, so I would say, for instance, ask indirect questions. somebody met me today and said, subhanallah, I forgot one rak'ah in the prayer and I didn't know what to do. What do you think? Imagine a Muslim who does not know sajda to sahwa. We all forget in the prayers, right? Don't we? Right? Who does not? So it is something that happens to everyone. And if until now you don't know what to do, that means you care less about the most important thing, which is the prayer. Okay? Ask some, common questions. They had an interview at the university where in Cairo University in Egypt. And he asked tens of people, the host asked tens of people, can you name 4 of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ? 4 names. 4 names. You would be surprised. Empty heads. People do not know 4 names of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. Allah, if any of them have come to me and he's a PhD holder and he does not know, many names of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, sorry. I'm not going to take somebody to teach him. Especially he's born in Islam. His priority and his family's priority are not my priority. Not my daughter's priority. When one day I was giving lectures in the States before I got married, and they said there's a good sister and so on, and let's introduce her to each other. So I talked to her and I decided to visit the family. And subhanallah, the father, when I met him, they're very rich people, and he said, I heard that you are a pharmacologist and you used to work as an assistant professor at the university. I said, yes. He said, and why are you doing that? I said, alhamdulillah, I switched to da'wah and I got a degree in Sharia, etc. He said, and how many people before you have done whatever you're doing right now? The da'wah business. I said, many. It is the job of all the prophets. I said, and were they able to change anything? Khalas, he already put me off. I can't have him as my father-in-law. It's over. At least for me. I'm not necessarily saying that you should be that sharp or, No, but I'm saying, to me, we're not getting along. The mother took me on a side and we started talking, and she said, I can make you a millionaire. I said, oh my God, I came to the wrong address. Everybody is about money because they're rich people. So I thought it's hard to deal with those people. It's very hard. It's better for me to look somewhere else, So you can make the decision based on few questions to ask to find out whether the person is even keen to learn about the deen, loves the deen, okay? Especially if these guys were born in Islam and from your culture or your background, they're supposed to be Muslims, at least have the least knowledge of Islam. We'll sit in Hajj, Allah, you will see wonders. Subhanallah. There was a halqa, and a very prominent sheikh, world-known sheikh, was running the halqa. Everybody was reading from the Mus'haf. And this guy is a university professor. His turn was to read the Quran. So he came and he said, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alam. ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه. Sheikh kindly said to him, Alif Lam Mim. He said, no, I'm a doctor and I know better. It's Alam. Not only that, he's ignorant, but he's arrogant too. So there are definitely situations which would tell a lot about the personality of this person. And if you're a guardian, you can trouble the person in front of you through few fine questions like that in order to verify whether he's a good fit for your daughter or not. We have to keep in mind that Islam does not allow putting any pressure on the girl to marry a particular person, even if he happened to be the best person. Okay? As well as many girls dismiss the idea of accepting a proposal simply because it is coming from her father or from her mother or the family is proposing. Why? at least give yourself a chance to meet him. Huh? I know a father, when somebody proposed to him to marry his daughter and he knew that this person is overqualified, wallahi, he advised him not to marry his daughter. He was that honest. He said, perhaps you've seen my daughter in the conference. Yeah. Perhaps you have seen her very active in the MSA doing dawah. He said, she's not like that. She's not like that. And you'll be shocked. You know, son, I advise you to shop somewhere else. So, pray istikhara, then make mashura. I put this order because even though there is a difference of opinion with regards to which one shall you begin with, mashura or istikhara, but the more right view, according to Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen, may Allah have mercy on him, and others, that you pray istikhara first and you do mashura afterward. What is istikhara and what is mashura? What is istikhara and what is mashura? Istikhara, in the long hadith of Jabir ibn Abdullah, may Allah be pleased with him, he said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I want you to pay close attention to this hadith because I don't know how he expected the course to be about, like, you know, just talking about personal experiences. That is not sufficient, of course, because he began by saying fiqh and nikah. So fiqh, the understanding, should be from the Quran and from the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So pay attention to the following hadith. He said, كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يعلمنا الاستخارة كما يعلمنا السورة من القرآن. This is how often the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to teach us how to pray istikhara, the importance and the significance of praying istikhara in all your affairs, especially the serious ones, as much as he used to teach us some of the chapters of the Quran. And he said, إذا هم أحدكم بالأمر, if you're about to do anything, especially serious matters, before you decide, before you make the decision and the final selection, مجرد هم, once you intend to do it, فليركع ركعتين من دون الفريضة. Let him pray 2 rak'ahs, provided they're sunnah, not fard. Could they be the sunnah before or after any prayer, and I combine with it an intention of praying istikhara? Those who say yes, raise your hand. Those who say no, raise your hand. What about the rest? You guys do not vote? Voting is haram, ya Sheikh. Okay, the hadith says, فَلْيَرْكَعْ رَكَعَتَيْنِ مِنْ دُونِ الْفَرِيضَةِ. If you're about to do something serious, you want to decide about it, whether to do or not, go for it or not, let him pray 2 rak'ahs other than the fard. يعني sunnah. The question was, so that means you initiate 2 independent rak'ahs, sunnah, with the intention of praying istikhara. Could you combine the intention of praying istikhara with any nafl, such as the emphatic or non-emphatic sunnah, the 2 rak'ahs of duha, 2 rak'ahs before dhuhr, after maghrib, after isha, the sunnah yani? Can you have 2 intentions in this regard? I don't believe in collateral answer. Raise your hand if yes. Okay. Hands down, please. Raise your hand if you think it is not permissible. Okay. Still some people did not. Listen to the hadith and understand the fiqh of the hadith. فَلْيَرْكَعْ رَكَعَتَيْنِ مِنْ دُونِ الْفَرِيضَةِ, as long as it is not fard. So that is perfectly fine if you're praying any sunnah, provided before you say Allahu Akbar, your intention is, I'm going to pray the sunnah before dhuhr or after maghrib or whatever, and meanwhile, I'm going to pray istikhara. Because al-istikhara is a dua, is a supplication that you supplicate by the end of the prayer. Either before making taslim, yani once you finish the tashahhud, at-tahiyyatu lillah, the root sharif, then you make the dua, or after you make taslim, then you make the dua. The dua is اللهم إني أستخيرك بعلمك وأستقدرك بقدرتك وأسألك من فضلك العظيم. I highly adjure all of you to memorize the dua. Why? Because we make decisions. It's not only about marriage. Accepting a job, leaving a job, marriage, divorce, engagement, doing business, traveling, applying in a school or another. Every serious thing in your life, you don't know about it, simply consult Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He knows best. Al-istikhara is one of the greatest gifts that is given to Muslims. A lot of people have to pay a lot of money in order to make a decision, especially with business. And hire business consultants and all of that. Al-istikhara is the best because you're consulting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The future for us is entirely unseen. How would I know that this girl will be the best mother of my kids? How would I know that this guy will be loving and caring and blah, blah, blah? Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You've done your job. You investigated. Okay? But you do not pray istikhara and say, I want to know whether shall I go to the bar this weekend or not. Pray istikhara. There is no istikhara in haram. No istikhara in haram. I want to give in a charity. Let me pray istikhara. This is something either wajib or recommended. Do it. We're talking about what is mubah, what is mere permissible. Traveling, doing business, marrying. So buying this car, that car, going to this school, another school, mubah, permissible. Then pray istikhara. There is no istikhara in haram. There is no istikhara concerning a haram choice. Or concerning a wajib choice, something that you should do in any case. So now, you pray, then you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, I consult you by your infinite knowledge, by your infinite power, since you know and I know not, and you're able to do all things. Oh Allah, if you in your infinite knowledge, and know the unseen, you know that this choice is good for me, concerning my livelihood, and concerning the hereafter as well, then make it easy for me and facilitate it for me. But if you know that this choice, marrying this sister, marrying this brother, traveling to this country, accepting this job, going to this school, is bad for me if I choose it in this life and in the hereafter, then do what? Take it away from me and take me away from it. We can spend the whole day talking about dua al-istikhara alone. Look at how fine is the dua. Because sometimes when you pray istikhara and you're turned off, khalas, your heart is away from this girl or from this guy. But this girl is still after you. She calls you and her family call you. They may persuade you or put pressure on you. But the dua is, اصرفه عني واصرفني عنه. Take him or her away from me and divert my heart from this particular choice. So it's both ways. No heartbreak in it. Then that's it? No. وَقْدُرْ لِيَ الْخَيْرَ حَيْثُ كَانَ. And decide for me what is good, whatsoever it may be at. ثُمَّ رَضِّنِي بِهِ. And make me pleased with your decision. Perfect dua. Sheikh, I prayed istikhara several times and I didn't see a dream. Says who that you have to see a dream? It's a cultural rumor. Istikhara is not about dreams. Look at the dua again. Decide for me what is good for me, then make me happy with the decision. Whatever decision you will take afterward, provided you are uncertain, number one. Provided you have not made up decision already. You have not made up plans and arrangements. Yani, akhi. Somebody who went through the engagement and booked the hall and bought the ring and bought the cake and we're getting married tomorrow. And I'm gonna pray istikhara when before the party, inshallah. Are you joking? You made all the plans. You bought the ticket. Khalas. You're taking off pray istikhara to do what exactly? Your heart is wholly going towards this choice. So istikhara in this case would not be effective because your hawa, your whim will overcome and it would seem to you like this is the result of istikhara. No. It would be best to be undecided, to let Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala choose for you. And that would be, as he said, إِذَا هَمَّا, before you take decisions. Once you think about it and intend to do something, then pray al-istikhara. Okay, you said that you don't have to see a dream. Yes, you don't have to see a dream. But what if I saw a dream? Okay, that is possible. It is possible to get some guidance in a night vision or a dream, but it is not necessary. You see the difference. A whole culture is under the impression that you pray istikhara, and they call me and say, Sheikh, I prayed istikhara before I went to sleep and I didn't see anything. Why before you go to sleep? Because I was taught so. You have to pray istikhara, then fall asleep right away. Shouldn't be talking to anyone. That's not true. You can pray istikhara anytime, and you don't have to see a dream. So he prayed istikhara once, twice, and 3 times, and you did not see anything. And you do not feel anything. Can I pray istikhara more than once? Yes, you may pray istikhara more than once, and if you prayed it twice, that is perfectly fine. Because the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to make dua, and he would repeat the dua 3 times. And an istikhara is a form of dua. It's a prayer. So, what kind of feeling would you exactly get? How would you get the inspiration to do or not to do? To marry this girl or not to marry this guy? What will happen? What will happen is Allah will facilitate for you the process of either marrying, and marriage will go through, or subhanallah, even if everything is going through, and at the last minute twist, things will change, will break up, either you or her, that is definitely the result of an istikhara. That is definitely the result of an istikhara. So calm down. You prayed istikhara, don't worry about anything. But make sure that your heart is undecided. Let Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala choose and decide for you. Even if you think this person is the man, and he's the best man for you, and you cannot live without him, or you think the same about the girl, that's not necessarily true. أحبب حبيبك حونا ما عسى أن يكون بغيضك يوما ما. In the States, in some experiences in marriage counseling, I saw wallahi couple. Their love story was all over in the entire Muslim community. And how they separated, it was horrible. You do not know what is good for you, what is best for you. Let Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala choose for you. Don't you think because you fell in love that said this person is the only person whom you can spend the rest of your life with. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. And he said, ask of me, I will help you. I will guide you. I will direct you. Al-qulub, the hearts, are between 2 of the fingers of the most beneficent. He directs them and diverts them whichever direction he likes. So let Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala choose for you. That's why we have some hadith. We'll come to it inshallah with regards to what Umar ibn Khattab says in this regard after praying istikhara. I don't care what happens, whether good or bad, because it is definitely good for me. Even if it appears to me as bad currently, but once I entrusted Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with my affairs, that's it. That is more than sufficient. So pray istikhara as many times as you feel like until you're satisfied. Until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directs you to a particular choice. After praying istikhara, do istishara. وَالْمُسْتَشَارُ مُؤْتَمَنٌ. Al-Mustashar Mu'taman. What does it mean? The Prophet ﷺ told us that whenever you consult it, it's an amana. You should not conceal any information in this regard. Would it be riba, ya Shaykh, or backbiting? If somebody is asking me about my colleague whom I know very well, he is a cop, he's a bad person. But most people do not know the reality of this person. And somebody is asking me, this person just proposed to my daughter and he's asking for her hand. What do you think of him? Some people will say, I can't say anything because it will be riba. Is that right? It's a must to talk within the limit which is given to you, your opinion concerning whether this person is qualified or not. It's an amana. What if she is your daughter? What if she's your sister? And you know all these informations about him, which nobody else knows? You're going to say no. So it's an amana and a trust, and it must be fulfilled. Al-mustasharu mu'taman. And al-mashura is very effective. I remember one doctor was moving his clinic and his practice from one state to another. Once I was talking about the importance of praying istikhara and letting Allah decide for you, then he burst laughing in the class. He said, what is wrong? I said, Sheikh, you know, before I moved here, I had trouble. I was going crazy. I couldn't sleep because I was afraid. It's a big decision. Move from one state to another and to get a license in another state. Like my mind was going nuts. You know what I did? In order to decide, I flipped the coin. Somebody would decide such a great matter, which he could not sleep because of, by flipping the coin. Flipping the coin is something that was practiced before Islam, which is known as at-tiyara. At-tiyara, you bring a bird is a ta'ir. Then we set the bird free. If the bird flies to the right, then that's a good decision, a good omen. And if it flies to the left, then that's a bad omen. Straight ahead, let's do it again. Until we see it flies. That is called bad omen. And the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, La adwa wa la tiyara. We're not allowed to believe in bad omens. I don't know if you have this habit in your country, in the States. If you go to these tall buildings and you take the elevator, it goes straight 11 floor, 10, 11, 12, 14. There's no 13. Because they are pessimistic with regards to number 13. They don't have number 13 in the elevator. So that is not permissible in Islam to be pessimistic or to have bad omens. Rather, to decide concerning any matter, consult Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by praying istikhara. So now we figured out how a woman should choose her husband or accept or decide concerning a proposal that is given to her. What if the sister likes somebody in the class or assumes this person could be her life mate and she thinks this person is the best match for her? That happens. How could she approach him? How could she talk to him? Is it permissible to go and say, I would like to marry you? Huh? Is it permissible? There comes the role of the wali again. Or the brother, when you share with your inner feeling that you cannot expose it to others, because unfortunately, in today's world, that is considered as you're lowering your price. You're putting yourself down. But a woman came to the Prophet ﷺ and she said, Ya Rasulullah, wahabtu nafsi lak. She wanted to marry him. She wanted to give herself to the Prophet ﷺ. But we're not the prophets. None of us is like the Prophet ﷺ, who's the most humble person. So it did work many times, alhamdulillah. If one sister happened to like a particular person, she would talk to her wali or her brother or another sister in the community who is a trustworthy person, and the husband of this sister would approach the man and say, you know, I have a very good proposal for you, and so on. Maybe the same person have the same feeling towards the girl, but he's reluctant because he thinks these guys are very rich or from a very prestigious family, and they would never accept me if I propose to them. So he'll be just waiting on somebody who would give that hand. Ishfa'u tu'jaru. Ishfa'u means intercede, help people to achieve their goals, especially if they are good goals and for good causes. Now we'll shift to the matter of the choosing the right wife. And obviously, all of you know the most common and famous hadith in this regard, don't you? You know the very famous hadith with regards to the qualities of a woman whom should take for marriage. Can you say? Huh? Money, lineage, status, beauty, and the religious commitment. One of the very commonly misunderstood ahadith, even though it is the cornerstone in choosing your life mate as far as for a man. But it is commonly misunderstood. Why? Because right away the youth would think that the Prophet ﷺ said, dismiss all of that, just focus on فَاظْفَرْ بِذَاتِ الدِّينِ تَرِبَتْ يَدَاكَ. No, he doesn't say that. He said these are the very prominent qualities. Birth, lineage, beauty, and religious commitment. فَاظْفَرْ بِذَاتِ الدِّينِ. يعني, these four qualities, if you find the four qualities in one girl, please pass on her phone number to me. Is my son around? No, he's not. Alhamdulillah. What if you can't find a woman with these four qualities? There's only three qualities. Okay, no problem. Something is better than nothing. Three is better than nothing. But one out of the three must be for the deen. What if there is only two qualities? Then one of the two qualities must be for the deen. A woman who is well-mannered and with a religious commitment. What if I have a woman who's having the three first qualities? MashaAllah, she's the daughter of such and such. She's very rich. She drives a Mercedes 600. And MashaAllah, she's a beauty queen now. Subhanallah. Only one thing about her, she doesn't pray. Just only one little thing. And worse, and she does not wear hijab. And worse, she's very liberal. I mean, she talks to guys and she's outgoing. She likes to hang around with guys and worse, everything. But she's not religiously committed. This is a little thing. Now, if I have these three qualities in addition to 1,000 more, but she is not practicing, then Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, لا فَاظْفَرْ بِذَاتِ الدِّينِ. All these qualities are transient and volatile. They come and go. Only that deen, what lasts with the person, with the individual, there is a quality that lasts. So again, I will repeat what I said. The four qualities do not mean, in the mind of many of the youth, that the Prophet ﷺ is dismissing the beauty and wealth and lineage and said, just look for a religious woman. No, not at all. But he's quoting the very common qualities where people look for. And he said, make sure that deen, this quality, is one of the qualities which will be in the woman of your future life mate. You understand that? You got it? Okay. Here is a hadith in which the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is warning those who will only shop for beauty. What asks them is only the beauty. And he dismisses any other quality because, you know, that is the only thing that they keep thinking about. He said, لا تزوجوا النساء لحسنهن فعسى حسنهن أن يرضيهن أن يهلكهن ولا تزوجوهن لأموالهن فعسى أموالهن أن تطغيهن ولكن تزوجوهن على الدين فلا أمة سوداء ذات دين أفضل. If your main concern is the beauty, that's a disaster. But if the person of your choice, alhamdulillah, is a beauty queen, and mashallah, she is religiously committed, that's perfectly fine. But if she's not practicing at all, no, find somebody else. Look around for somebody else. Why? Because you're not just marrying for the beauty. The beauty can depart at any time for a reason or another. For a simple accident. What are you going to do afterward? You're stuck with a person whom you married for only one thing. And sometimes when the girl is not practicing and she's very pretty, mashallah, she feels some sense of pride. So with any dispute, she says, you know how many people would love to marry me? You're already married. You're not supposed to be talking about this at all. And she would come from work or from school. She would come home and say, this guy said to me this and this and that. She doesn't have this sense of haya to share this with her husband. She's not even supposed to contemplate these words because she's already married. So sometimes the beauty without the religious commitment could be devastating. Similarly, the wealth, when she feels superior to him, and she's the one who's supporting him. Without being religiously committed, we have Abdullah ibn Mas'ud's wife. She's the one who's supporting him. This is Abdullah ibn Mas'ud's wife. Whenever it was time to pay zakah, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud said to her, give me your zakah. As her husband. She said, you're my husband. How could I give you my zakah? He said, yeah, it is okay to give me your zakah because the financial responsibility is on the man, not on the wife. She said, I can't do that. I got to ask the Prophet ﷺ first. He said, okay. And Abdullah ibn Mas'ud already knows the answer. He's a great alim and scholar. So she went, and she did not want to show her face to the Prophet ﷺ. She stood by the door, and she sent the question like some of the very beautiful sisters who send their questions in writing because they don't want to, be known that sister such and such is looking for a husband or, she's asking this embarrassing question. So she said, Ya Rasulullah, she asked the Khadim to go and ask him this question. So he asked him, who's asking this? He said, she's the wife of Abdullah. He said, which Abdullah? There are many Abdullah. Okay? So she was embarrassed and she did not want to expose her husband before the Prophet ﷺ. Anyway, the answer was yes, you may give your zakah to your husband. A wife like that is a jewel, perfectly fine. But who can find a wife like Abdullah ibn Mas'ud's wife? Would support him, and she would be, she would feel shy to talk about that. But in general, when the wife is extremely rich and there's a huge gap between the two, the man cannot afford to fulfill her financial demands, it becomes very problematic, especially if she is not religiously committed. She does not know what the Jazeen asks her in this regard. And obviously, some cases in front of me ended up with separation because in the beginning, she said, I love him even if I sleep on a mat with him, blah, blah, blah. But of course, when they slept on the mat and it hurts her back, she missed her daddy's bed and couch and Mercedes and all of that. It's very problematic. You have to be realistic. You have to be realistic. So the deen is like the leish, which will make the person does not go extreme to the right, nor to the left, would know their rights and their obligations. May I ask you, whenever I say فَاظْفَرْ بِذَاتِ الدِّينِ and I interpret a deen as a religious commitment, she is, mashallah, religious. What does it mean? What does it mean that a brother or a sister is religious? In your opinion, I'm going to ask randomly. You have to share with me your thoughts in this regard. Sister, go ahead. Yes. Yes. What would make a person religious? Whether a man or a woman? Yeah, practicing what exactly? Okay. Okay, the woman wearing hijab. Okay. Okay. So there are, outer part signs that you can tell because he is praying, he is, mashallah, seeking knowledge or he's giving da'wah. What about you, brother? And how would you know that? She has a strong connection with the Quran. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're going to ask her in the presence of her mahram or while visiting the family about her achievement with regards to the religious knowledge, right? Okay. So a woman who's not wearing niqab, would she be still considered religious? Just wearing a regular hijab and khimar? Huh? Yeah, exactly. Okay. A brother who wears trousers and wears jacket and suit and tie and all of that, mashallah, he's learning and he's practicing. He prays the 5 daily prayers. He does not even pray tahajjud or night prayer. Is he considered religious? Yeah, of course. Because many of us, unfortunately, perceive a person who's religious as one of the Sahaba, the special criterion. To the extent that I hear very weird stories in this regard. Let me tell you this. A bad one once entered upon the Prophet ﷺ and said, Ya Rasulullah. He said, O Muhammad, tell me what Allah has ordained upon us as Muslims. A beginner. He said, 5 daily prayers. إِلَّا أَن تَطَوَّعَ. Unless if you want to pray nawafil, extra voluntary prayers. He said, what about fasting? He said, once every year there's a whole month of Ramadan fasting. إِلَّا أَن تَطَوَّعَ. Unless if you want to fast extra voluntary fasting. Same question was asked about zakah and hajj once per lifetime. إِلَّا أَن تَطَوَّعَ. So the man, after he finished, after the Prophet ﷺ answered his questions in the same style, he said, وَالَّذِي بَعَثَكَ بِالْحَقِّ. I swear to the one who sent you the truth, لَا أَزِيدُ عَلَى هَذَا وَلَا أَنْقُص. I will not do anything extra. I will not do any nawafil. I will just do the fard, what he said. But وَلَا أَنْقُص. I'm not going to miss anything of the fard. I'm going to offer the fard properly. Whether the siyam, the zakah, the salah, the hajj. Then he turned around. The Prophet ﷺ said, أَفْلَحَ وَأَبِيهِ أَنْ صَدَقَ. And another narration said that if you like to see a man of Ahlul Jannah, look at this guy. So for offering the basics, but offering them perfectly, this person was not just considered a religious person. No, he was considered رَجُلٌ مِنْ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ, a man of the people of paradise. There are many components that form the picture of being religiously committed, especially al-akhlaq, manners. Can stimulate somebody to anger him. See how would he react at the time of anger. You know, this is very important. Because when Al-Hasan al-Basri was asked, he said, give your daughter to one. Whenever he loves her, he would honor her. And whenever he does not love her anymore, he would not oppress her. Check whenever this person is angry, not whenever he is happy. Same thing with the girl. When I mentioned the hadith about the beauty earlier, and sometimes the beauty would ruin the marriage and cause severing the relationship and breaking the marriage, it doesn't mean to exclude it. No, absolutely not. It is a top priority, brothers and sisters, especially in the eye of a man, to marry a girl who is very beautiful. It is a top priority. And you should consider that so that she will help you to lower your gaze. I know some brothers who say, Sheikh, I don't care how she looks like, even if she has a mustache. As long as she has hafizat al-Quran. La, habibi. Of course not. Look what the Prophet ﷺ said, انظر إليها فإنه أحرى أن يؤدم بينكما. Many marriages, especially arranged marriage, from the first day, and I'm just repeating and I'm sharing with some of the cases which are being presented before me or have been presented before me. That when the person on the wedding night or in the morning he realizes that this is not what I wanted at all. You know? She's not going to pray in bed. So he says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, انظر إليها فإنه أحرى أن يؤدم بينكما. When I visited my in-laws for the first time, my wife, currently my wife, she was very smart. She was sitting somewhere where the light fixture was against my face. So she could see me clearly. without being shy, I asked her in front of her family, can we switch seats? Can I sit here? What I can see, because I'm coming all the way from Houston, Texas to see you. I heard enough about you. I know that you have many dialects of the Quran, you have an ijaza, you have this and this and that. But now for me to make up my mind and pray istikhara while I'm convinced, I want to see whether for me you are satisfied with regards to beauty or not. And she's alima, mashallah, but I can look to her in the face. I would say, I'm sorry, I'll pass. This is what the Prophet ﷺ said, انظر إليها فإنه أحرى أن يؤدم بينكما, which means look at her, for indeed there is more likely to make things better between the two of you. And this decision is not your mom's decision. It's not your dad's decision. It's not your friend's decision. It's not your friend's wife's decision. She said, MashaAllah, she's a beauty queen, because, we have different tastes. We have totally different tastes. And sometimes the person would not mind if she's taller than him or shorter than him, because, subhanAllah, there is something in her that attracts me like a magnet. Alhamdulillah, there is chemistry. Good for you. As long as you saw her and she saw you and both of you are happy, then proceed on with the rest of the procedures. Abdullah ibn Jabir, may Allah be pleased with him and his father, said that the Prophet ﷺ said, when one of you asks a woman in marriage if he's able to look at what will induce him to marry her, he should do so. Unfortunately, some people misinterpret this. And they say that you can hide to see, what you should not be seen. So what should you see actually from a woman whom you are interested in marrying her? The face and the hands. The face reflects the beauty of the person who's in front of you. And what would she look at you? The face. And your body style, when you're standing, when you're walking around. That is more than enough. You wanted further investigation? What type of hair does she have? Whatever. There you have your sister, you have your mother. So that if it doesn't work out, alhamdulillah, she's not in a showcase where you can see everything, then you talk about it and another person would see. No. You saw what people normally see. And you have an opportunity when you're sitting in the guest house or in the guest room, in the presence of her family or any of the family members, to look once and twice and several times until you are capable to make a decision with yes or no. First visit wasn't enough. Ask for another visit, and the third visit. And the girl have the same rights. The girl have the same. Unfortunately, some girls will prepare a list of questions. What do you think about shortening the thumb? What do you think about... These are legitimate questions, but those are not the questions which should determine whether this person is a good life mate or not. No. Do not misunderstand me. What I'm saying again, those are practices that is in our deen, in our sharia, and this is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. But those are not the signs which will determine the person will be a good husband and a caring and a loving husband or not. So focus on what is really, really important. The personality, chemistry, goals, objectives. What would you like to be in the future? What about raising the children if we were to have any children in the future? What do you think of this person? What do you think of that person? What do you think of this policy? What do you think of things which will brainstorm the person in front of you, where you can dig deep in their minds to see how they think? Whether they're very superficial or they are very deep in their thoughts. There are people who are into brand names. And I was talking to some college students, and I'm not going to hide from you what one of them said. Youth at college. I was trying to convince them not to be superficial and to be deep and to be thoughtful. So one of them said, "Ya Sheikh, in our college, girls will very much appreciate the man from the type of shoes that he's wearing. I said, is that right? He said, yes, of course. If you're wearing Nike, then you're a nice gentleman. Wallahi, I feel very sorry. If a person would be simply appreciated because of the name brand that he's wearing or how expensive are his clothes, subhanallah, this is very sad. Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib radiyallahu anhu, whom we talked about earlier, Sayyid al-Tabi'in, the Khalifa proposed to his daughter. He wanted to have his daughter for his son. So Sa'id ibn Musayyib's daughter is going to be the crown princess, going to marry the son of the Khalifa, and soon she's going to be the queen or the wife of the Khalifa. But since Sa'id ibn Musayyib was very pious, and he is not willing to enter any haram into his house, or even with shubha or doubt, he turned the offer down. He refused. And while he was sitting in his class, he had a student who is, mashallah, excelled in the field of seeking knowledge, and he knows him inside, outside. He asked him, haven't you gotten married yet? He said, yeah, Sheikh, can't afford it. He said, would you marry my daughter? He said, your daughter? Of course, I would love to. But how? He said, don't worry about it. Now I'm going to come to comment on what he said in the previous session, that if he's practicing, but he doesn't want to work. There's a big difference between a person who's lazy and a person who's hardworking and seeking knowledge, and alhamdulillah, shukrullah, that he is making attempts. So he said, okay, you're going to marry my daughter. And when they married, subhanallah, Allah provided for him from every direction. And even his neighbors furnished his house. You know the story of Sa'id ibn Musayyib's daughter? Then he was ready to attend her father's halqa. Next day, after they consummated the marriage, she said, what are you up to? He said, I'm going to attend the halqa with your dad. She said, never mind, stay here. He said, how come? She said, I'm going to teach you everything that Sa'id ibn Musayyib knows. Because he taught her everything that he already knows. If I know that somebody with a good personality, with great potentials, would be perfect for my daughter, I would not hesitate to ask his hand, not the other way around, and ask him to marry my daughter. Is that permissible? Perfectly fine. That is perfectly fine. But the girl should not do that on her own for the sake of haya. She should do it, as I mentioned earlier, through different avenues. Her guardian, her brother, her sister's husband, her friend's husband, and so on. So Jabir ibn